Hi guys, welcome back to True Crime After Dark. If you've been following my channel, you know that a very sad thing happened very close to me, and it's this case with Anna Kepner dying on the cruise ship. Yes, it was a Carnival cruise ship. You guys all asked in the last one, so it was a horrible, horrible, horrible tragedy. I do know a lot of people that went to her memorial, and it was beautiful, and a lot of people really loved this girl. My kids met her, knew her, and she just lit up the room. A wonderful family, a wonderful girl, and we got some more updates. So let's get into the video.
Now reportedly a homicide. The teen varsity cheerleader was reportedly choked to death aboard a Carnival cruise ship. We have also learned what Anna Kepner's stepbrother, whose family says is a suspect in her death, told family members when the 18-year-old girl was allegedly found stuffed under a bed on board the ship. Now that her family is saying this is a criminal case, we have also noticed that some family members' stories are clashing. Were Anna and her stepbrother inseparable? Or was he dangerously obsessed with her? We're on the case, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Hey guys, before we start this case, let's talk about the app Upside. It is free and it gets you cash back on daily essentials like Kepner's family has reportedly provided a death certificate to ABC News, and that certificate says that Kepner died by mechanical asphyxia. And again, it officially labels her death as a homicide. Kepner allegedly died of a bar hold, according to the report, an arm across her neck. The report also says there were no signs of sexual assault or drugs in her system, but there were reportedly bruises on the side of her neck. There's also new information that we have in related to the timeline of when Kepner may have died. I'm going to get into that in just a moment. Now, the FBI has not commented on the case. They are saying they are just investigating. They have been tight-lipped about everything else. They haven't arrested anybody, or at least that we know of, and publicly they haven't named anyone as a suspect. But we do know that Anna's stepmom, who was on the cruise with her, called her son, who is Anna's stepbrother, he's 16, a suspect in the death investigation.
The older child, who's approximately 16 years of age, is a suspect in the death of the stepchild, an 18-year-old daughter that was in the same room.
Now, that was a major moment in this story because it came out of a custody hearing in Florida involving Kepner's stepmom. Her name is Chantel Hudson, and her ex-husband. Again, they've been going through custody issues for more than a year, and their custody issues are unrelated to the death investigation. But what you just heard there was the attorney for the stepmom's ex-husband saying that the 16-year-old is a, quote, suspect in Kepner's case. Now, back to the grandparents of Anna Kepner, who were on this cruise, and their interview with ABC News. They said for the first time in the interview what the 16-year-old stepson reportedly told them after Anna's body was found. Now, I'll get to that piece of information in a moment, but we're also learning more about what happened in the final days of Anna's life. So,
Guys, I just want to say right now that I pray, I really do, pray that this was just a horrible accident, because this is going to tear this family apart. And it's a really, it's a Christian family, very close-knit family. This girl was adored by so many. Her car still sits up at the school with flowers and beautiful things, teddy bears, everything by it. And it's so extremely sad. But I really pray that it was not a homicide on purpose. I pray that it was an accident. Maybe they were fighting, maybe something was going on. He put her in a bar hold and it happened and he panicked, and I pray that's what happened. If he did murder her on purpose, I pray that he is held accountable and charged as an adult, because he would deserve to be. So there's some new updates on the case. I just wanted to share them with you. So let's get back into the video.
Well, let's go to November 6th. And this was on a 6-day cruise from Miami to some spots in the Caribbean on the Carnival cruise ship Horizon. So this trip is coming to an end. It's one of the last nights before the ship was going to return to port to Miami. And Kepner reportedly around dinner time wasn't feeling well. Her grandparents say in their interview with ABC that she had braces, the braces were bothering her, so she was going to call it an early night. Then we get to November 7th, the next day. Kepner's family, they got together for breakfast, and Anna Kepner didn't show up. Her grandfather said that he was getting bingo cards when he heard over the loudspeaker that there was a medical emergency. And you think of the moment for him, he recognized the room number that they were talking about. It was around 11 o'clock in the morning that the Daily Mail has said that it was a maid who entered Anna's stateroom and made the horrifying discovery. Kepner's body was allegedly found wrapped in a blanket, covered over with life jackets, and stuffed under a bed. ABC News says that she had been strangled. An arm allegedly across her neck had killed her. And there was reportedly no evidence of sexual assault or drugs or alcohol in her system at the time of her death. The ship returned to port on November 8th, the day after her body was found. Her body was then taken off of the ship and transported to the medical examiner's office in Miami-Dade County. This is video per WSVN TV by reporter Sheldon Fox. In the new ABC News report, the death certificate allegedly says that Kepner died on November 6th at an unknown time. So that means authorities believe that Kepner was allegedly killed the night before her body was found, and it must have been after the time that her family said that she wasn't feeling well and needed to be excused from dinner. Kepner's grandparents said that there were a total of 9 family members on this cruise. You had Anna, her grandma, her grandpa, her biological dad, and Anna's 2 biological siblings. Then you had Chantel Hudson, who's the stepmom, and her 2 children, a 9-year-old girl and a 16-year-old son, who is now reportedly the suspect in Anna's death. Anna's grandparents said that the family going on this trip, it was supposed to be this new tradition as this blended family had come together. And they also said that Anna had a real brother-sister-like relationship with her stepbrother, the 16-year-old. In fact, the grandparents described them as 2 peas in a pod. Now that description, I will tell you, is very different from what a former boyfriend of Anna has been saying. Now, the dad of that ex-boyfriend told Inside Edition that the stepbrother was actually, quote, obsessed with Anna, and allegedly not in a good way. He goes on to say, quote, she was scared of him because he always carried around a big knife. He also said that his son once saw the stepbrother go into Kepner's room during a FaceTime call and, quote, when she was sleeping, and get on top of her. And he went on to say, quote, he's like infatuated, attracted to her like crazy. He always wanted to date her. All of this is per Inside Edition. Now, the ex-boyfriend also told the media outlet that Anna was so afraid of her stepbrother that she actually slept at friends' houses just to get away. On this
Then why in the world let her bunk with this? Why? Would the family, if they had any concerns at all about the stepbrother and her relationship, why would they let them room together on the boat? It doesn't make any sense to me. Things just don't add up. Something is missing here. And also, real quick, is it true, please tell me below, that you are allowed to drink in international waters being on a Carnival cruise? Because I just took a cruise less than a year ago on Norwegian Cruise Lines, and you could not drink in any waters if you were under 21. So let me know down below if that's normal. I don't know, but that sounds kind of off to me.
Cruise, Anna was reportedly sharing a room with that stepbrother. Now, not only that, the ex-boyfriend also says that Anna's biological brother tried to get into the stateroom, but the door was locked. Anna and the stepbrother were inside, and according to Inside Edition, he said that he could hear yelling, including the stepbrother saying something along the lines of "shut the hell up," and he also says that he could hear something banging around the room. Now, the grandparents told ABC News that investigators say the only person seen going in and out of the stateroom where Anna was found dead was that 16-year-old stepbrother. But
if that is true, why the heck didn't he go and alert someone, alert the family, alert the ship personnel, alert someone to go and get into that room? So you're telling me now this could have been prevented? I'm going to be so angry.
this is where this case gets even more bizarre, because Anna's grandparents say everyone was questioned after the girl's body was found, and the stepson reportedly said he doesn't remember details about the alleged incident. According to ABC, the 16-year-old said, quote, in his own words, says he does not remember what happened. Now that is what Anna's grandma told the media outlet that the boy told her. She also says the boy was hospitalized for a psychiatric evaluation once the ship returned to port in Miami. Now, we know that the boy is getting some form of mental health treatment.
December 1st at 9 a.m.
Can I speak? He has a psychiatrist appointment on December 1st.
Ma'am, just a second. Hold on. I want you to be able to talk with your attorney before you speak. If she says it's okay for you to speak, I'm okay with that. But I think you need to run that by her first.
That there was another key moment from this custody hearing where Chantel Hudson, the stepmom, speaks up in court when it comes to scheduling another hearing in relation to the custody case, where she says the boy has a psychiatrist appointment on that particular day. At the time of this recording, it is unclear if anyone has been charged in connection to Kepner's death. Now, another layer to this story that's come to light is the relationship, or lack thereof, that Anna Kepner had with her biological mom. Heather Wright is Anna's biological mom, and she does not live in the state of Florida. She says she has no relationship with Kepner's biological dad, who is the one who was on the cruise. She said that she had to learn about her daughter's death from media reports online. And she also said that Kepner's dad actually tried to ban her from Anna's memorial service. And this is where it gets just very...
Real quick, I gotta say, I don't believe that. Take that with a grain of salt. He does not seem like the type to do that. I mean, I maybe get it if she's not been around, not been in Anna's life, and not been paying her child support, stuff like that, but I still don't think that this man would stop her from visiting her daughter's memorial. Period. I don't.
Bizarre, kind of tragic. The biological mom says she attended that memorial service in Titusville, Florida last week wearing a disguise. This is what she told Ashley Banfield on News Nation.
That your ex-husband banned you from going. Can you walk me through what happened and what the circumstances were?
He told me that when I told him I was coming down there, he said that that he knew for a fact that Anna would not want me there. And I said, that's a lie. I was like, but whatever. And he goes, if you step foot in Florida, I will have you arrested immediately for back child support.
And so you went anyway, right? Yeah. In disguise?
Of course. Yeah. I wore a wig and I wore some really tall high heels, so that way, you know, if he was looking for somebody short, he wouldn't see me.
And were you able to attend the funeral? Did anyone see you or spot you? Like, tell me what happened next when you got there.
Nobody spotted me. I kind of stayed in the back, close to the door, so if I needed to make a quick getaway, I could. It was really nice. They had a lot of pictures of my daughter.
She said she wore a wig and heels to get into her own daughter's memorial service. We have been unable to confirm the details being reported about Anna's death, as the FBI has not said much beyond the fact that they are investigating the case. We're also not naming the 16-year-old boy or showing you his picture because he is still a minor. Now, if that changes, if this boy is charged and tried as an adult, we'll include that information for you as we continue to follow this story. I did reach out to Carnival Cruise Lines for a statement, and this is what they said. Quote, the death of a guest traveling on the Carnival Horizon voyage that returned to Port Miami on Saturday morning, November 8th, is being investigated by the FBI. Since this is an ongoing matter under the jurisdiction of law enforcement, it is up to the FBI's Miami Public Affairs Office to provide further details. Our focus is on supporting the family of our guest. I spoke with retired FBI agent Colin Schmidt earlier today. We did this interview prior to the announcement that Kepner's death is reportedly a homicide. Joining us once again to talk about this case is retired FBI agent Colin Schmidt. It's always great to have you with us on Law and Crime. First off, what would it take if this actually is a murder case? And we don't know at this point, but with what's being laid out, if the 16-year-old ends up being charged in the death of his stepsister, how likely would it be that he could be charged as an adult?
Well, it's a federal crime because it occurred on a cruise ship, so there has to be some analysis of what the federal law will allow. So being tried as an adult in the federal system, there is quite a bit of steps you have to go through. That's something that would have to be approved by Maine Justice as far as the U.S. Attorney's Office. And then furthermore, you know, he hasn't been, it doesn't appear that he's been arrested. He's just been named as a suspect. So we're still kind of waiting for all the facts to kind of flesh out before we rush to judgment.
Because at this point, the FBI isn't going to say anything until their investigation is done, and they're still being very thorough on that. But now you have family members coming out saying that she was, she died allegedly by asphyxiation, that it was some sort of arm across her neck, that she had bruises from that the stepbrother was the only person who went in and out of that room. There were, a lot of information is coming out, but not through the official channels. What might the FBI, in some ways, be waiting for, if all of that is true, to file charges against this teenager?
Well, first of all, I misspoke. He's not been named a suspect. The FBI hasn't named anybody. They're following classic FBI processes, which is basically they're not going to share any information. Period. End of story. And I think their sources of information is not from the FBI. I think the media outlets are getting this from family members based upon the questions that the FBI is asking of the family members. So they're making that jump. Secondly, in terms of waiting, they're going to wait until they have, like I said before, they're going to have all their ducks in a row. They're going to complete their investigation, wait on the toxicology and any other medical reports. They're going to make sure they have all of the video. They're going to make sure they have completed all the interviews of the people that are on board in terms of anybody that might have information to lead, to assist this investigation. And they're also going to be looking in the social media as well as her social media and any suspects that have their social media to see if there's any indication of intent, if they do indeed have somebody in mind that had done this.
You bring up a good point with what, and from us on the outside, where it appears outlets like ABC or the Daily Mail, where they're getting information in this case. Why could it be risky? Maybe not risky, because I know that they have kind of levels that they go through when they report things, but at the same time, if you're getting information from family members who have even been questioned by the FBI, I guess what I'm trying to think of is asking the right way of like the perception of what the family member may think the investigation is and what's going on compared to what potentially is the reality of what investigators are actually looking at.
Well, I think it kind of comes down to just basic logic or common sense. If I'm interviewing somebody and all my questions are center on a particular person and their relationship, how they interacted, well, it's a reasonable inference for that person that was interviewed to think, oh, they're looking at this person, versus them asking personal questions about that individual and the person they're interviewing and asking questions about their relationship with the deceased and where they were and how they interacted with her the night that she passed away. So I think that's basically family members. Generally, the FBI will tell family members, hey, we'd like you to not share the information that we've discussed with the media. That doesn't mean they have to. There's no law that says they can or can't share that information. It's just a courtesy. But it sounds to me like the family is a bit of a chaotic environment, and I think they are talking freely with the media, which doesn't help anybody.
The family is freaking out. Okay, this is gonna tear a family apart, and I totally think this guy is right by them speaking out about everything, about the little brother supposedly hearing the stuff from the room. If that's not true, that's just throwing speculation into the case. Let the FBI do their job. I know I don't have much faith in the FBI or our justice system at all, but I pray, please say a prayer for this family because they need it right now.
I always say is like everybody just kind of needs to take a step back and stay quiet until the facts are all gathered, and then there's a charging decision by the U.S. Attorney's Office.
We know through the custody hearing with the stepmom and then through what the grandparents told ABC News that this 16-year-old stepson of Anna Kepner's stepmom, it's a blended family, so there's a lot of dynamics to it, that he went to the hospital once the boat got back to Miami and he got a psychiatric evaluation. What typically goes into that when someone has to go to the hospital for a psychiatric reason when they're potentially connected to something as serious as this?
Well, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, so I can't really necessarily comment on what goes into something like that. I think somebody had given him the advice to go to the hospital to get evaluated. Likely I'm just using some common sense here that he was probably distraught for some reason. and he demonstrated that he needed medical attention. But in terms of what goes into an actual evaluation, I wouldn't be able to comment on that. But it basically also comes back to common sense. I mean, if somebody is anxious or depressed or having thoughts of ideation of self-harm or harming somebody else, of course they need to be evaluated by a professional.
Yeah, no, fair point. According to the grandmother, the stepson says he doesn't remember what happened. They say that he was the last person, the only person who went in and out of the room where her body was found, and he doesn't know, doesn't remember what happened. That's what the grandparents told ABC News. If you have a suspect in a case like this, and that's what they're telling you, where does the FBI go from there and trying to figure out whether that's actually true or kind of getting past that to figure out what the reality actually is?
Well, I don't remember is just not a defense. We're also making the assumption that the FBI got to question this young man. And, to basic interrogation or investigation interviews, you're gonna get that person to walk through their entire timeline that they can remember. And it's been my experience that when somebody doesn't remember something, and as you ask more probing questions, then details start to come out, and then then you get a bigger picture of what's going on. And it also depends on if he was interviewed by the FBI, if he had a family member there with him, an adult. And generally speaking, the FBI doesn't interview children without an adult present. And that's not necessarily the case here. We don't know. Or did he have an attorney present when he was being interviewed? If he indeed was interviewed, we just simply don't know what's going on because the FBI
better have interrogated him by now. There's no reason whatsoever they should not have, except incompetence. It's been November 8th. What's the day? It's what? November 24th, 25th? Come on now. Come on.
Per their regulations, have not shared any information.
How likely, I'm always fascinated with this too, because, journalists are able to get information from different sources and all of that. When it comes to the FBI, how difficult is it to get information out of them from, I guess, non-traditional channels, to the point where, you could probably look at the information coming out and believing that it's coming from family members?
Well, the FBI, everything they do has to be legally defensible, so they can't rely on any, uncorroborated information. Anything that does come in through the media, if they haven't followed up on it, they're going to go out and they're going to be the arbiter of that, of the credibility. They're going to go talk to that person. They're going to get this information. So if the case agent's reading the newspaper or the media and he sees a new data point that they weren't, or a family member that commented on in the media that they hadn't talked to, they're going to run right out and they're going to talk to that family member and say, okay, what's the real story? Because they know anything that goes in the media is going to be filtered and may be biased one way or the other. But the FBI has to get all the facts and corroborate every single data point, because their job is to prove this case, frankly, not only beyond a reasonable doubt, but to absolute certainty.
How does a federal prosecution and when federal charges come down, and maybe even an investigation into someone who's a minor, if that's actually what happens here, compare to if this was a case that was being tried by Miami-Dade County, if this was something that had happened on land?
Well, generally speaking, the U.S. Attorney's Office is going to supervise the investigation. So the FBI is not a monolith, and they don't operate in a vacuum. They're operating with coordination with the U.S. Attorney's Office, especially something of this notoriety. And so there's going to be an assistant United States attorney, maybe even a supervisor in the Miami or the Southern District of Florida that's overseeing this, and they're going to be coordinating with the FBI to make sure every single step they make is appropriate, as well as legally defensible, and as well as gathering information that they can use in a court. Because simply stated, they don't want to make any mistakes on something like this. Nobody wants to make any mistakes, quite frankly. But the FBI is going to be very strategic about their steps, and they're going to make sure everything they gather in terms of information is going to can be used in court.
For the agents investigating this case, and it's every family is different. This was a blended family. The custody issues are playing out with the stepmom, the biological mom of Anna Kepner. Went in the media and she was talking about having issues with the biological dad. Then you have these grandparents saying that Anna Kepner and her stepbrother, the 16-year-old, that they were two peas in a pod. Then you have an ex-boyfriend and his family coming out and saying, no, 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 actually, this 16-year-old was obsessed with her to the point that it was something that she was scared of. There's just a lot of noise surrounding the relationship. How do you go about figuring out exactly what the relationship was between Anna Kepner and this stepbrother when it seems everybody has a different story?
Well, it's corroboration, and then cases like this, or squads in the FBI that do these types of investigations, are generally populated by highly skilled interviewers from the FBI. These are agents that know how to interview, know how to get confessions, and know how to get people to talk in a legal, appropriate manner that can be used in court. And to answer your question, if somebody says there's friction between the two, okay, they get that statement, but then they're corroborated. Okay, what's the social media saying? Is there two other data points that are going to say the same thing to in fact corroborate that there was friction between this person that the media says is a suspect and her, or on the opposite? So basically, the FBI and law enforcement in general isn't going to go in with a preconceived notion about what happened. They're going to gather all the facts and let the facts dictate where this case goes.
And when you're dealing with the case, and not every death is caught on video, but they were on a ship that has a lot of surveillance cameras. But then you get to that stateroom, and we don't know what happened inside. We know that at least reportedly, the stepson was the only person going in and out, and then Anna Kepner's body is found on the inside. How does perhaps what they...
Maybe there was cameras with audio in the hallway, hopefully, that can prove whether there was an argument going on or whether the brother did go to the door and try to get in, because that right there would show that if he wasn't let in, if there was an argument going on. Yeah, there's just so much to this case that we're not hearing. I'm going to keep following it. Thank you guys so much for watching it with me. This case is really close to my heart, so I'm going to let it go for now. I will keep you updated in this case, as well as our other videos, so let's just keep going, guys. Have faith, trust your gut, and always take care of each other. Bye, guys. See you tomorrow.